Hey everybody, thanks very much for joining us on our Meet the Vendor webinar series. And today we've got Anand from Amoeboids who's going to tell us about some of their amazing products. So hello Anand, thanks for joining us.
Hi Michael, it's a pleasure to be here. How are you doing today?
Well, you know, it's interesting times in sunny Australia, but doing as well as we can. So all good. So, all right, would you like to take it away and tell us a little bit more around JpRaise and what else we're going to be looking at? Because you guys have got a number of products out on the market. I think we're looking at the top 3 today.
Sure. So what I've done is I've created a small deck for the discussion. I hope you don't mind if I started sharing it and then we can start talking about the products themselves.
Great.
All right. Now we've just recently done our rebranding and you'll see that coming up a lot, the best you can be. Amoeboids is the company. JpRaise is one of our products, rather a suite of products on the Atlassian Marketplace. Let me first jump into the agenda itself. So rather than jumping right into the products, talking about the features and so on, we want to create a little bit of background around why we are creating those products. What are the business cases? What are the challenges that these products are solving for our customers? So we'll quickly look at the business landscape. We'll look at what we are thinking in terms of developing these products and the other ones that are coming along. And then we'll jump into each one of the top 3 products. So the 3 products that we are going to look at today are JpRaise for employee success, JpRaise for employee Garrison, and then the third one is automated release notes. Now, let's go to the business landscape first. Now, what we have realized, and rather all of this data is coming from major credible sources. For example, the first one is from a McKinsey report. It says globally over 80% of organizations record poor engagement and low productivity that adversely impacts business outcomes. Disengaged employees could cost an economy as much as a whopping $350 billion every year. So these stats are all across the different reports, different surveys that are out there in the business landscape, in the business world. Now, what we are trying to do is, let me go a couple of slides back and share with you our mission. So our mission at Amoeboids is to help organizations improve efficiency, accelerate the productivity, and achieve customer success. Just a couple of days ago, we had the announcement on the Atlassian Marketplace, and we achieved the Platinum Atlassian Marketplace partner status. Last year, we were at Gold, but just this year's announcement, we were brought up a notch higher with Platinum. As of today, we have 1,000+ customers spread across 75+ countries that are using our apps on the Atlassian Marketplace, and that list includes organizations as large as Fortune 500 companies to small startups. And all of these teams, all of these organizations use our apps to unify their systems to drive their business forward with apps that really literally solve their day-to-day challenges within the Atlassian world itself. They don't have to go around and purchase another app, learn another app. All of that happens right within the Atlassian Marketplace. Now, you would see some of the marquee customers that are using our apps already: Adidas, Pfizer, T-Mobile, Oracle. There are a number of these names. Now, our thinking. What we were thinking when we came up with building these different apps. Now, obviously the idea is perform, engage, grow. It all sounds good when we are talking about organizational titles and all of that. But the gist of the matter is we want the teams to be able to achieve the goals they are setting, not just individuals. every now and then we come across organizations which is full of stars who are performing to a great to their greatest potential as an individual, but as a team, they're not growing as much as they should be. That's one of the areas that we are focusing on. So you might have observed by now, all of these 3 points are essentially taking forward the Atlassian's philosophy around team. The second one that we talk about is engage, building aspiration to excel together as a team. And the third one is collaborating with teams better to help grow together. Now, the third one is a little tricky. Third one is talking about collaboration between different teams. If you look at any enterprise organization, keeping teams, keeping departments aligned is a major challenge. And that's one of our focus areas as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, and around, I guess, digital transformations, and as organizations are trying to make that happen and transition to new ways of working and agile ways of working. Yeah, I can really see how this pulls together, I guess, the human component of that new ways of working.
That's true. That's true. Awesome. Now jumping into the next one, that's perform. So what we have done is we have essentially, perform is point talking about a specific app, engage is talking about a specific app, and then grow is talking about a specific app. So let's talk about perform. Now, this is about Appraise for employee success. Now, Appraise for employee success was our first product on the Atlassian Marketplace. We launched that about 6 years ago, and it's about employee performance management. Now, rather than talking about the product, let's first understand the background, right? So the way we approached this performance management was we wanted to take it forward and make it really agile. Software development processes themselves are becoming agile day by day. Even those organizations that are not into core software development are also adopting some of the agile principles. But the performance management, by and large, still remains traditional. If you look at the traditional method, you'd obviously see the process itself is very rigid. The directions are going to come from the top, and they are sort of going to get propagated towards the bottom. Whereas when it comes to the agile method, it's more experimental. Rather than someone at the top dictating this needs to be done, that needs to be done, people are experimenting at different levels. Even the frontline contributors, they are experimenting and then sort of ensuring that results of those experiments are propagated across the organization to come out with something that's best for everyone involved. Traditionally, the leadership style has always been commanding, dictating, and controlling, as opposed to the agile methodology, where it's all about self-organizing, coming to a consensus as a team, and so on. Also, when it comes to agile, right, the cross-functional collaboration is extremely important. Whereas when it comes to the traditional method, it's more document-driven, more set in stone process rather than adaptable to change. Whereas when it comes to the agile methodology, it welcomes any kind of change as the process progresses. It's not going to remain in one specific position, in one specific flow. It will adapt depending on the situation itself. So we wanted to drive this employee performance management more towards the agility. That is when we came with Appraise for employee success. Now, reasons to adopt this new approach, right? There is a lot of talk about millennials coming in and forming a major chunk of your workforce and so on. So there are primarily these 3 reasons that we think are responsible for making this forced change towards agility. developing your talent is more important than ever. Employees are motivated by development opportunities, and only the direct managers can help them refine their strengths through consistent coaching. Staying agile obviously is one of the most important things nowadays, given that things are changing so rapidly. Even the large businesses, the established businesses, are no longer operating on an annual mode, right? So that is the reason every team should now have their operating procedure that's more agile. Frequent check-ins, quarterly look at goals, whether they are making sense or not, all of that is part of remaining agile. And then finally, to create encouragement around the teamwork itself. So if we went back a little, maybe 1 or 2 decades towards something what, for example, Jack Welch did at GE, right? The forced ranking methodology. It may have worked at that point in time, but it doesn't anymore. It tends to create that unhealthy competition. And that's what we are trying to get away from. We want individuals to come in and then play a part to achieve the team's their goals that they have stated. That is where the performance management revolution is happening. And that's where we wanted to bring in the Appraise for Employee Success app. It's natively developed for Jira. And given that it's developed for Jira, it does not need any additional adoption. It's already integrated with your day-to-day system of records, which is Jira. If your team is already reliant on Jira, they're going to log into the Jira platform, the Jira app, at least 2 to 3 times a day to look at what they're working on, to update their statuses and so on. So there is no additional workflow break or additional workflow adoption that they need to do. It's just easily adopted because it's already there in their tool. And the most important one, the app is available for all 3 variants: server, data center, and cloud.
I was going to say it's interesting, Anand, accessing Jira 2 or 3 times a day, or Jira tickets 2 or 3 times a day. It depends on your role. Not sure how many I would go through per day, but it'd be much closer to 100.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of took that as a very small number, given that more and more business teams are also adopting. If we talk only about the development teams, obviously that number is much higher.
Yeah. So well, sales and marketing, administration, finance, yes, every team, every function. And I guess that's one of the great things. And I think it was on the one of your Gartner quotes about the number of applications in the environment and what you're working with, and to be able to glue your process and your new ways of working, your agile ways of working, with the ability to set goals and then change the paradigm in terms of how the team considers those goals, not as a competition, but as collectively something to try and achieve.
Yeah, that's right. Now let's move towards the minutiae of the app. Let's talk about the features that the app provides. We are calling it Appraise for Employee Success for a very specific reason. We want the employees to succeed, right? And Appraise is a suite of products. Appraise for Employee Success is just one of them. In terms of features, objectives and key results, continuous feedback, and forms. These are the 3 core features of the app that we provide. Again, all of this is going to remain within the larger context of Jira. So when we talk about OKRs are kind of becoming a fad lately due to their success, specifically in the Silicon Valley setting. But from what we have observed, the adoption of the methodology is surging across the world as of today. So one of the ideas when we decided that we wanted to build an OKR app that works within Jira was to ensure there was the ability to connect your day-to-day activity, which is done within Jira, to your short-term and long-term goals, which are done within Appraise as part of OKRs. Obviously, setting the SMART goals, doing the alignment, transparency, no more set and forget. All of these things are equally important, and they are sort of given in any OKR tool. But the most important part that we felt was the developers should be able to connect their day-to-day activity with what they are trying to achieve, what their team is trying to achieve in the short to mid-term. And that is where the ability to connect Jira issues as key results comes in handy. Now, obviously, alignment is also an important factor because Appraise lets you create different levels of OKRs. I mean, by default, obviously, a lot of OKR tools out there, they would allow you to have company, team, and individual level OKRs. But Appraise takes a step ahead. And if you are a large organization with different departments, division, or a completely different structure, then Appraise lets you organize that very easily. It lets you go completely by the book, which is to set all of your OKRs public, or you can take a customized approach that's feasible or more desirable for your setting, for your organization, for your culture, and set the visibility to a specific set of teams and users. At the end of the day, the most important takeaway for everyone here is we never wanted individuals and teams to do a set and forget kind of goal setting. We have seen this in the past while we were working, organizations, teams, managers, individuals, they just set their goals up at the beginning of the year, and then they sort of forgot about them rather, and then only looked at them at the time of performance appraisal, which is really not desirable. You want people to engage with those goals, frequently update those goals, and ensure that communication, whether the frontline contributor is going to achieve their goal, is going to get propagated towards the top. Because at the end of the day, companies need to be agile, and that is where the agility comes in. If during your execution cycle you tend to understand, no, something is going wrong, maybe we are trying to achieve something that's not required at all, you can still correct your course and ensure that you are mobilizing your resources accordingly. So that's the overall intent of doing OKRs within the context of Jira. Like I mentioned, there are a bunch of advantages of doing OKRs in Jira. As soon as you connect your Jira issues to OKRs, the progress update is automatic. Now, obviously, if you're using Jira, you're going to update the statuses of these Jira tickets day in, day out, right? To do, in progress, done, anything, any workflow that you have created. Imagine if any of those, let's say, epics, stories, tasks are connected to your short-term or mid-term goals. As soon as you update that Jira ticket, it will automatically calculate the progress at the highest level. So if you have an individual objective that's connected to a Jira issue, and that individual objective is aligned with that team objective, which in turn is aligned with the company objective, you can understand the cascading. As soon as you update the Jira ticket, which is at the lowest ladder of the value chain, it will automatically calculate progress updates at the top. So essentially, you're trying to connect your execution with the strategy. And the couple of other advantages are obviously, since you're going to use Jira day in, day out, your goals are always in front of you. You don't have to memorize them. You don't have to go to a separate place just to look at them. And then finally, you don't have to remember another password or learn another system. This is seamlessly integrated within Jira. So one of the major sought after features within Appraise for employee success is the hierarchy view within the tool. Here you'll notice, now obviously there are many closed objectives, abandoned objectives. This is coming from one of our test environments, but you'll notice the alignment of different levels of objectives. There is a company level objective at the top, followed by different team level objectives, followed by different key results and individual level objectives. So this kind of gives a very realistic picture of what you are working on day in, day out, how is it helping you? How is it helping your team? And how is it helping your company achieve the larger goals? That's the intent of having this hierarchy view around OKRs.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, that's really the key. The new ways of working is it's alignment, aligning individuals, teams to organizational goals, and it also allows that conversation about what are our goals and what is we specifically going to do to achieve them. And that's, yeah, collaborate with the team to understand that and then line it up. It's very powerful.
Exactly. And I mean, from what we have seen, a lot of times these teams who are using Appraise for setting up their OKRs, they tend to switch their goals. Switch is probably not the right word. They tend to abandon some of their goals midway through the quarter. They tend to create new goals midway through the quarter. That's only because they have realized as they are executing, as the progress is getting updated day in, day out, they are realizing that it's no more important to pursue a specific objective. It makes more sense to do so and so. So here, rather than judging these organizations based on how frequently they are changing their goals, it should be looked through the lens of agility, right? Rather than pursuing a goal that's really not desirable, they are just abandoning it midway and saying, okay, we are going to focus on only those things that are most important at the moment. So that's the true nature of agility. They're willing to adopt the change. They're willing to accept the change rather than resist it.
Well, it's just clarity around what's the most high value item. And if the team agrees that this is the highest value and something has changed and it's no longer high value, or it might go from low effort into extremely high effort, and you might decide you want to change your priorities. So yeah, organizational agility is required, and we sort of do that on the delivery side, but this is a good way to link that to individuals, so we can see how we're progressing, and teams, obviously.
Yeah, that was very briefly about OKRs. So obviously there is a lot of stuff that we cannot really cover in one just discussion. That was just briefly about OKRs. Now, moving on to the next one, that's feedback. Rather than calling it feedback, we always have this habit of calling this feature continuous feedback. The reason being, we want this feedback to be quick, short, contextual, impromptu. This is not a feedback that someone is going to expect at the end of the year, at the end of your appraisal cycle. No, this is unstructured, a very short note, not beyond 3-4 sentences ideally. It could be a quick note of praise, a quick thank you, or even a quick input on improving on a certain direction. Easy to understand, to the point. Like I said, doesn't have to wait for the year end, quarter end. It can be triggered by your own actions, or someone else can request that from you. It could be constructive. The most important part is it has to be development oriented rather than appraisal specific. Typically, one of the complaints that employees have with performance appraisals is at the time of performance appraisals, all they get is backward looking feedback, right? It's after the fact. It's not helping them grow. This is not that. This is forward looking feedback. You are helping these individuals grow. You are sort of patting them on their backs when they are doing a good job. And more importantly, whenever you have Jira in context, you're saying this feedback is related to your day-to-day project activities and or mid to short-term goals, which are done in OKRs. So you're saying, right, typically what happens is almost everyone day in, day out says thank you to their colleagues for whatever reason. Someone may have helped you out and you said thank you. The most important thing about this context, about having this in Jira, is that thank you, whenever it is said outside of the context, may feel hollow, may not feel like it has any kind of meaning attached to it. But as soon as you provide context, as soon as you say thank you for helping me with this specific presentation that our client Adidas was very eagerly waiting for. Now you've added the context. It immediately gets the meaning that is required for having these two parties engaged with each other. And that's really where we hit the nail by doing feedback within the context of Jira.
And it makes it easy to do really fast, because traditionally, you'd wait till the next meeting, and then you're talking about feedback for things that happened months ago, and some of the details are a bit vague, as opposed to having that information, being able to have the conversation that day if you need to.
Absolutely, and one of the best things about Jira is its extensibility. Right from within the Jira ticket, you can request and give feedback. You don't have to go anywhere. As soon as you are updating the status, or maybe you're adding a comment, you can immediately request and give feedback, and that's about it. You're done. The most important thing, again, in addition to this, of course, is all of this data that you're gathering, the contextual feedback that you're gathering, becomes very handy when you're doing the, so to speak, traditional performance reviews. We'll go to it in a couple of slides, but that's again an important aspect of this. Like I said, advantages of having the continuous feedback in Jira is it ensures contextual communication between all the stakeholders. This feedback that you are gathering over a period of time, it has helped to generate different reports, trends, and insights that are going to be useful specifically for the HR team, someone who is looking to engage their human resources in a more meaningful way. You can even make this process linked with your events in Jira. So for example, as soon as an issue is going to the done status, you can request feedback or give feedback. You can gather feedback at the end of every sprint and so on. And finally, there is no after the fact annual feedback. It's all forward looking. It's all meant in good faith. It's all meant to help individuals progress. Here, there's just a quick snapshot, a quick screenshot of the app itself. This is the give feedback screen, where you have the ability to give feedback to any individual. There are a bunch of ways you can configure the visibility of the feedback, the classification of the feedback. You can attach the feedback to the team values or company values, and you can make the feedback visible to a different set of teams, individuals, and so on. So that was feedback in a nutshell. Then you have forms. This is more traditional way of doing things. Now, the only reason I say this traditional is because this has been prevalent in the organizations for quite some time. Even today, those organizations that are adopting the agile ways, they still tend to have an element of annual reviews, which is kind of okay. When you're doing agile, it's not necessary that you sort of move away from all your old practices. So you still have an element of traditional performance management within Appraise via these forms. Now, these are in completely stark contrast with the continuous feedback that we just talked about. This is again a feedback, but a more structured one. It is both backward and forward looking. It's periodic. Typically, from what we have seen, it's gathered over a period of year or 6 months, initiated by the HR department, and the process itself takes anything from a few days to a few weeks. This is, again, just bringing out the difference between continuous feedback. If you recall, continuous feedback is impromptu. It's going to happen within a couple of minutes, but this one, it's going to take a few days to a few weeks, depending on the size of your organization and the complexity of your process. This is detailed, elaborate, and is geared towards improvement in the long term. The primary use case is obviously performance reviews, where you're doing the common team member and manager reviews or upward feedback or even the 360 feedback. The other use cases that forms within Appraise solve for are pulse surveys, onboarding, and exit questionnaires as well. Now, advantages of doing these performance reviews or doing any kind of forms in Jira. Another important thing, just avoid the tool bloat. Why do you want another tool just to conduct these performance reviews? And at any point in time, Appraise is going to let you refer to your contextual data from Jira. Whenever you're filling out these performance review forms, you're going to look at those continuous feedback data points that you've gathered over a period of time, as well as the Jira issues, the Jira tickets that you have worked on, that the subject has worked on in the performance review period. So that becomes your handy reference, and never you're never again going to look at the form to start from scratch. It's always going to be starting with your reference. With the Appraise flexible form builder, you can create a form that matches your needs. And like I mentioned, there are a number of different use cases that the form builder solves for. There is default reporting surrounding aggregate trends, comparisons that helps you come out with insights that you can then apply to mobilize resources, train your employees, and grow further. Just one snapshot from the forms feature. It's very flexible in terms of what it can do, a number of use cases it addresses. In fact, we have seen a number of customers doing very broad spectrum of things that we never imagined would be possible with the feature that's available out there. But yeah, in a nutshell, these are the three core features that are provided by the app Appraise for employee success, all of them relating to the employee performance management aspect.
Yeah, that's really good. And yeah, you can see how you can just customize whatever you need to be able to structure how you need to for your different teams.
Yeah, that's right. The next one is Engage. This is Appraise for employee Garrison. Now, like I said, Appraise for employee success was our first product that went live on the Atlassian Marketplace based on the feedback, right? This was more focused on employee performance management. Based on feedback we received from customers, a lot of cloud customers actually asked us whether we were planning to create more HR related tools within the ecosystem. And that's when we decided to develop this app, Appraise for employee Garrison. This focuses on core HR related activities. Before we talk about those features, let's quickly look at the background here. What are some of the employee engagement challenges that you face, that any team faces? Increased absenteeism, decrease in productivity, poor quality of work, employees leaving. Now, digitization is one of the answers to all of those challenges. Managing your schedules easily, making sure that everyone has clear visibility into the entire team's schedule is extremely important. Figuring out what training is needed for different individuals, what are the different skills that individuals possess, that teams possess, using of latest tools. At the end of the day, all of this can be sort of said in just one single word, that is digitization, as you said at the beginning of our discussion. And that is where Appraise for employee Garrison comes in. It integrates the core HR activities with your projects in Jira. Now, how it can help? The idea is we want to bring in self-sufficiency to employees. We want them to make informed decisions rather than making, bureaucratic requests and red tapeism. Efficiency is another aspect that comes into play. whenever someone is out of office, whenever is taking a leave, the scheduling is becoming important nowadays, specifically due to the pandemic. Everyone is working from home. No one knows who is going to be in the office, who is going to be not. It's not going to be easy. So that communication aspect, that continuity of work, that continuity of business aspect is getting addressed via this. And as the size of the organization grows, keeping track of the organization structure is important. Again, Garrison chips in with a customizable org chart feature right within the context of Jira. Here you'll notice this is a snapshot from the app Appraise for Employee Garrison. This is for user profile. Now this user profile is completely customizable. You'll notice there is employment details, contact details, job details. You can customize all of this. If you're already using Jira, you know Jira does not provide you the opportunity to store all of this information about the users. This you can create or rather customize completely based on your own needs. There is foolproof functionality surrounding visibility and editability of these attributes. We call these custom attributes, custom user profile attributes. You can create and track any kind of attributes. We have seen companies tracking their skills, tracking their employees' skills rather, via this custom attributes, apart from a bunch of other things. Extremely useful when you're trying to keep your tools within a certain limit. You don't want to go after another tool just to track X, Y, Z information. You can do it right within the context of Jira itself. The leaves one. Now, one of the features that's offered by Appraise for Employee Garrison is leaves management or vacation management or PTO management, whatever you want to call it. Different parts of the world call these things differently, right? For example, in the US, you have PTO. I think in Europe, it's vacations. We call them leaves. Here, if you look at the Tempo or other time tracking apps, right? They're going to let you create those leave related time tracking reports, but it's not sufficient for majority of the organizations, because every organization has a different compliance need. Some organizations need to provide XYZ amount of, let's say, paternity leave, maternity leave, then there are sick leaves, then there are, community service leaves, and so on. So you need to track balances across these different leave types. And that's only possible within Appraise for Employee Garrison. This is not about time tracking. This is about leave tracking, to be specific. You can always come in, you can look at the leave approval process, you can look at the balance of any individual, you can look at the reporting and understand, maybe say product team, how many people are there today in the product team and what does their leave balance look like towards end of the current cycle. So this is going to help you in your resource utilization planning. You can easily look at your upcoming holidays right inside of Jira. You can easily look at your work week and work hours as well. And then there is this integrated calendar where you can just gather information from multiple sources in one single space. So even within the screenshot itself, you'll see there are a bunch of checkboxes on the right hand side. I can easily check the one that says birthdays, and that just pops up to display all of the birthdays across my entire company. So in a way, this is trying to get you all the relevant information that's going to help you remain engaged. Now, the last one in our discussion today is automated release notes. Now, this is a bit different from the Appraise apps that we discussed. This is more a utilitarian product where we are trying to address a very niche problem that's there: collaboration and communication. Now here you'll notice 86% of employees and executives cite lack of collaboration or ineffective communication for workplace failures. Again, you'll see a bunch of these stats floating around that talk about lack of effective communication, lack of collaboration. And automated release notes is trying to address that specific need. Right now, the way release notes are generated is very tedious. If you have been a product manager, if anyone who is listening to this have been a product manager in the past, they'll know the tedious nature of coming out with release notes. You have to generate release notes in different formats for different stakeholders. For example, your business team needs a completely different picture of what's going out or what has got out already in a specific release as compared to what your customers are looking for. Compare that with what your customer success or customer support team is looking for. That's again completely different and in different format. So that's one of the most difficult things when it comes to creating your release notes easily. It's very difficult to figure out which items are to be included in your release notes, because at the end of the day, they're depending on the size of your product, depending on the size of your backlog, how many tickets go out, how many stories go out is dependent on that. But it's never easy to say how many of those, let's say 50 items that went live, need to be included in the release notes, right? It's always difficult. Depending on who the audience is, you'll have to choose the right ones. Who are the relevant recipients and what do they need to know about? These are some of the difficult things that the traditional way does not really cater to. You have to do this manually. You have to figure out and spend, or rather invest, a lot of efforts to come out with something that's very effective. You have to send out emails, be it internal emails or external emails, or you also have to publish to Confluence. And that's where automation comes into picture. What it does is it essentially gives you a visual way of creating release notes. You can create different release notes template utilizing Jira's custom fields or default fields. You can pick the Jira issues that are coming out to be included. So for example, let's say out of 100 issues that are 100 tickets that are going live, only 40 are going to be useful for the customers themselves, right? So in that case, what you would do is you would create a custom field, let's call it release notes for customers. We'll just use it yes and no type of field, and we'll set this field up to yes only for those 40 tickets. And what you can do with an automated release notes is you can create a template that's specific to the customers themselves and create that JQL taking into account this where clause, where you say only include those items that are going in XYZ release and those tickets that are meant for customers. This will bring out only the relevant items, only the relevant tickets. And additionally, then you can configure what are the items, what are the issue fields, the ticket fields that I want to display in the release notes. For example, even for the same ticket, the internal release notes could look very different from a customer release note. So all of that is completely taken care of within the templates themselves. The major advantages of using the automation is you shorten the update cycles. You don't have to spend extraneous time to come out with these release notes. You can just do it with one click or even without any clicks if you're doing the automation. You can increase the customer feedback. You can provide different ways to customers to engage with you, to sort of communicate with you via these release notes. You can use these as a reference point for documentation as well. And at the end of the day, the idea is to keep every stakeholder informed about any changes that are happening in your products. Now, skipping to this one, obviously there are different formats. Like I mentioned, there are rules and then you have the ability to take the release notes directly to your customers, that is within your apps themselves. So we'll go to the screenshots and I'll explain a few things here. So here you'll see you can generate release notes in these many formats. All of these are just templates: email, PDF, Confluence, JSON, HTML, Markdown. Whatever your use case, majority of them are already addressed. Say if you have a running release notes page, you can do that using automated release notes. Say you want an internal and external email notification, you can do that through automated release notes. Say you need a repository of all the PDF release notes, you can do that through automated release notes. And another interesting aspect of this is automated release notes can integrate with something like Zapier, which can then extend to a lot of things. So for example, a use case that we ourselves have been doing is posting to our Twitter account whenever a new release is live, right? So as soon as a version is marked as released within Jira, it generates a release note. It calls out the relevant Zapier rule, and then a tweet is created based on that. So very interesting use cases there to solve.
Yeah, you can imagine how much time that's going to save just by setting all of this in advance. So yeah, particularly if you're releasing really frequently, you might want to continue to push a lot of information out to different audiences.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the drivers for developing this product was my own experience. I've been a product manager in the past where I had to take ownership of these processes. Apart from the fact that these processes are extremely tedious, they also tend to be vulnerable to manual errors. At the end of the day, you are, trying to copy paste a lot of information from a single source to different destinations. So as soon as you create a template, you're done. All of that information can be gathered with just one click or no clicks. Now, this screenshot is talking about the automation aspect. The last one was about really the release notes content, the layout. This one is about how you can automate that. If you keep it manual, obviously there is no automation, but the other triggers you'll notice there is version release, there is scheduled before end days of release, there is scheduled at interval, there is even a webhook. So if you have a CI/CD system in place, you can just call the webhook URL and trigger the release note, or rather trigger the rule here, and all the corresponding actions will get triggered within the app. So extremely helpful for technical writers, product managers, even project managers. So given that the app relies on JQL, the Jira query language, it's not really restricted to the release notes themselves. We have seen our customers using this for generating weekly status reports, daily status reports as well, because at the end of the day, the app is working on the concepts of JQL.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good extended use case. I think I might start doing that, Anand. We're not currently doing that. Maybe we should. That's the funny thing about the Atlassian world. There's so many options and so many opportunities in front of us to be able to improve what we're doing, to reduce error, save time with this particular component. It's really very interesting.
And in fact, one of our customers, Fabian, who is also an Atlassian community leader, right? So a couple of years ago, in fact, when we released the app, even we didn't know that this was the extent of usage that was possible. So what they did was, this guy, Fabian, he actually ended up, they purchased our app, the company purchased our app, and he ended up automating 33 monthly reports via automated release notes. And he ended up writing 2 community articles on the Atlassian community. They are still there, and he has explained all of those use cases in very good amount of detail. Even we were surprised that, oh, so these are the different use cases that were possible. So it just goes on to show the flexibility of Jira query language. Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you have to get a little bit geeky to say I love JQL, but it's just an incredibly powerful way of being able to organize your information, sort your information.
Yeah. And another aspect that I didn't really cover in the screenshots is we have recently launched what we call as release pages and widgets. Now, these release pages and widgets are essentially standalone release notes. Something like you have status page, right? Where you are explaining the statuses of your different services, different products. Similarly, you have a release page where you are automatically creating the release page from within Jira, and release widgets are something that you can just put it out within your app itself. If you are building a SaaS app, so even if you are using something like Slack or say Jira, Confluence, you'll notice something like what's new, right? What's new is essentially your change log or release notes. So by using automated release notes, you can create that change log and just show it right within your app without any coding required. You just have to grab a JavaScript snippet that is provided by automated release notes and just insert it within your app. Just amazing. We have seen engagement of the product itself, automated release notes, grow multifold by relying on this small in-app widget that we utilize.
Amazing way to generate value and getting great ideas from your customers.
Yeah. Without going anywhere, customers just know as soon as they reach your app, they realize, okay, this is the new thing that's gone live recently. Maybe I should take a look at it. Just amazing. So the final words. At the end of the day, all of our apps, be it JpRaise apps, the automated release notes, or a bunch of other apps that we really haven't had a chance to talk about today, we are trying to create a customer-centric product line specifically surrounding the Atlassian ecosystem. All of these apps are focused on improving productivity and enhancing the efficiency of teams that are utilizing these apps. You'd see this picture here, how the feedback that is driving the continuous improvement, how you are going to design the experience, how you are going to understand your customer. All of that falls into a single bucket of customer centricity.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in this day and age, when we start just thinking about productivity and what's possible, it's certainly worth. Well, I think, as part of your digital transformation, really investing into your tool suite, because there is literally thousands of opportunities to improve our quality, improve our customer experience, improve our employee experience, shorten our our cycle times, improve the quality of our product, reduce the cost of our product. There's so many things. It's really exciting industry to be in. All right, well, thanks very much, Anand. Absolute pleasure to speak with you today, and thanks for running us through the JpRaise suite of products and automated release notes. I think, I think we're going to have to create an idea in our environment to get that implemented, because I think we could use that little function to communicate with our clients.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here. It was wonderful to have this discussion. I'm sure a lot of your customers are already going to realize the potential of these products. I'm already aware of a couple of your customers that are utilizing JpRaise apps. We have collaborated in the past. It's amazing. Yeah,
it's a wonderful time to be operating in this space and to be able to offer so much value to our clients, because we really feel like we're making a difference with what we're doing, and using products such as Amoeboids, it makes a huge difference. So thanks very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Have a great day.